Hello, everyone. Glad to have you here, guys, with us. Thank you all for joining and welcome again to this month's Dr. Jaspersoft session. Today, we'll be talking about an interesting topic on how to optimize analytics and reporting with JasperReports IO. I'm Badr Draifi, your Dr. Jaspersoft host, and our guest today is Rafael Peguet, Senior Solution Engineer at Jaspersoft. He will be presenting the session for you today. How are you, Rafael? Are you with us?
Yes. Hello, everyone. Hi, Badr.
Great. Thank you. Thank you for joining us. So as you can see here, guys, on the second Thursday of the next month, our next session on June 8th, we'll be talking about Jaspersoft Studio and Git and how you can combine and use versioning inside your Jaspersoft Studio. Please, guys, put your questions on the comment section in the right of the YouTube stream. We will be monitoring it and we will try to get all of your questions at the end of the session. All right, Rafael, I'll give you the floor. Go ahead.
Thanks, Badr. Thanks. Delighted to be here to talk about a great topic today, JasperReports IO. JasperReports IO, it's been a project we have for a few years now, and I think many people don't know about it. So should you already know JasperReports IO or not, or should you know Jaspersoft at all or not? You're in a great place. It's kind of how to start with JasperReports IO. I look into making one more advanced with more scaling, more detailed. So today I want to start from what is Jaspersoft. Before focusing on JasperReports IO, I want to present what does Jaspersoft today for those who don't know Jaspersoft at all, or for those who've lost track for the past few years. We've done a lot of work over the last 2 decades or even more. As you know, some of you know, I'm sure, we started as an open source Java library to generate documents in any format, the pixel perfect reporting. And today we became a platform still 100% open source, which provides business intelligence and analytics to organizations, helping them to show the right data to the right user at the right time and in the right formats. So in that context, Jaspersoft product suites provide a range of software capabilities, including reports, dashboards, data integration, and analytics. And really, these tools are all built with one purpose: helping organizations to turn raw data into actionable insights that can drive business growth and success. A little bit about the architecture of Jaspersoft. Being a Java open source solution, the platform remains highly customizable and can be deployed in a range of environments, including on-premise, cloud, Docker, or hybrid. So Jaspersoft is an excellent addition to the application you build and sell for a few reasons. Number one, reports and analytics. Jaspersoft offers a powerful reporting and analytics engine that helps your customers generate custom reports and analyze data to make informed decisions. So with Jaspersoft, you can provide your customers with real-time information about their business that can help them identify trends, make data-driven decisions. In terms of embedding, number two, Jaspersoft provides a variety of embedding options to allow you to, as a developer, to integrate reporting, analytics, functionalities directly into your application. So this means that your customers can access these features without having to switch between different systems or applications. Customizations, Jaspersoft is highly customizable, as I mentioned just earlier, meaning that you can tailor it to meet your specific needs and the needs of your customer. We know, and we have a variety of customers, we know that every customer has a specific need, so we want to make this as easy as possible to customize the analytics, the reports, so that we can meet every customer's need. And scalability. Jaspersoft is finally designed to scale with your business from large amount of data, multiple users, and so that can integrate with a variety of even data sources. This means that you can continue to offer high-quality reporting analytics tools as your business grows as well. All right, so where does JasperReports IO fits into this picture, into the Jaspersoft picture? Why did we come up with JasperReports IO? We took the core of Jaspersoft, we kind of strip it from the front end so that it still provides the right data to the right user in the right format, and you can present it in the right context while making it nearly indefinitely scalable, so that the end user can still make informed decisions with reports that can still be easily generated and embedded without the need to write complex code. It's still a powerful reporting and analytics tool. It's still real-time, it's still secured, and it's still environment agnostic. So you can still run it in Linux, Mac, Windows, in your containers, in your favorite cloud, or hybrid. But now with a microservice architecture. So it's much lighter to run and optimizes the architecture costs that will incur. JasperReports IO is a data visualizations and reporting microservices, providing interactive data visualizations for web application with a JavaScript API, providing report or document production via REST services, but it's still based on the leading JasperReports platform. So all the reports you may have already in Jaspersoft with JasperReports Server, for example, will still run with JasperReports IO. And if you already use the JavaScript API and the REST services with JasperReports Server, it will still run with JasperReports IO. We have the same APIs for JasperReports IO as for JasperReports services. In terms of architecture, there is two versions of JasperReports IO with a very different architecture. The JasperReports IO Pro, which is a client, you can install it one time or multiple times in the cluster and put your load balancer on top of it. It uses a repository. So for those who are familiar with the Jaspersoft server repository, with the JasperReports server repository, we use a database. Here we're using a folder and a data source or data sources to retrieve the data. When we come to the AtScale edition, we've split these microservices into 4 sub-services. The JIO REST, little module, which will get the REST calls from the clients. The JIO manager, managing the queues and sending it to the reporting executions, and to the JIO reporting module. And then once the report is generated, then we have a fourth module, JIO export, which then prints the exports back to the repository or sends it back to the client through the JIO REST module. And in this architecture, the caching mechanism is managed by Redis, and only the JIO reporting needs access to the data sources. So an architecture like this really optimizes. So if you get a few requests, but at the same time, but it takes a long time to produce the report for any reason, maybe a lot of data, then we can scale only the JIO reporting pods so that we can produce these reports quickly, even though each report may take a few minutes to run. On the other hand, if you have a few reports to export in many formats, we can optimize the JIO exports and increase the number of pods. So that way, if you run this in a container with Kubernetes, we can really optimize the resources. And again, it has the right impact on the architecture cost. So I'll start with the first part of the demo. So I'll come to this other screen. And I want to show you the bike share application. So your application may be similar. We've tried to create a Node.js application with basic users and with some data coming from availabilities of bike. And the purpose only for this is to be a demo application of what can be an application which embeds Jaspersoft. So in this application, we've embedded a lot of charts and KPIs so that we can demo how embedding Jaspersoft into an application works. So here, for example, we have an interactive maps I can change the filter, and everything comes from Jaspersoft here. I can select a specific city in my region. I can change the last month. I can look at my map. If I hover over the chart, it gives me additional data. If I look at the total trips, it's interactive. So each components come from Jaspersoft. I have that JavaScript request here, but then I can present it exactly how I want into my application. For example, here I see there are 32 stations in need, and they're mostly in San Francisco or San Jose. So I've actually created a link. So when I click on the map, it opens a separate page in my application. I can look at a specific back station. I can send a driver to it. In my app, I can make this a next step. So while the map and the KPIs is from Jaspersoft, this is my application. And I interact with my application, and automatically the data presented in Jaspersoft elements change as well interactively. So that's what we call allowing the users to make informed business decisions. So as a manager, I've made this station to be the next stop for my driver. If I log out and then I log in as a driver, I get a pop-up. Maybe he's using a tablet or a smartphone. So you can view this in a smartphone view. And then these Hubble Street and 16 became high next stop for my driver. So he can drive there, check in, verify the bikes or repair them as needed. And then again, as I do that, then my report from Jaspersoft changes. So I can see the completed stations here with Hubble Street and 16. Now the dot is marked in green, all good. And if I go back as a manager, my KPI will show that there's only 31 station needs. It changed from red to orange. So it's really embedded, not only from a visual perspective, but also from interactive, from a control perspective. There is nothing here that shows what is coming from Jaspersoft and what is not. There is also the urban roast, and this is another application. I don't need to explain again the details of this application. We've embedded a table. We can click on some images here and interact with it. The interesting part is on the roastery, where I can select, I can use this table to filter the data. So at the moment I have all the data, but if I filter on these coffees, I have a little field here listing them. So I have 4 of them. You can see my 4 spider web. I can export and run as a PDF. So in this app, we've also added this REST API where I have my pixel perfect documents, and I can navigate to the different pages. It's at exporting my preferred format. So 2 examples of what is embedded analytics. Now we've seen how embedding analytics and report looks like. Let's look at a specific pixel perfect report running in Jaspersoft looks like. So first I have an example. Let's look at this report. Here I'm reading another API giving me the production of electricity in France from the 1st of February for the first few weeks of February in France. I have linked this to my JasperReports IO. I'm using Postman, so I can test REST API. And here it was working already, but I'm run my report, and now interactively I can see all the data for the different, so from storage, river, so the dams, water reservoir, nuclear energy. I can get my PDF export, or I can see this in a different format as needed. So just needed to change the API. Similarly, back to the browser. So when you start with JasperReports IO, you get a full documentation with detail how to install, how to configure it with the specific port, how to use the REST API. So we have a full Swagger documentation. That's how I managed to use Postman and JavaScript API. And with this documentation, I can look into the Swagger file for the REST API. So linking the Swagger definition. So yes, JasperReports Server doesn't support Swagger, but JasperReports IO supports Swagger 3.0. So now you can test all the API of Jaspersoft through a nice Swagger documentation. We've provided the open API specifications. So you can test your query, look into a specific report, the different parameters, and I've already tested this one before. I run it, and that's my same electricity production report. That's tested, got to 100, it works. If I want to test this into my API, I can find all the different samples, either in JSFiddle or in a specific app. So I have I've created a specific page where I embed my reports, and again I load. I can this and have my reports available. So how do I?
So Rafael, just one question here. So this is has been rendered, like this page of that shows the report has been rendered via JavaScript by using the REST APIs of JasperReports IO, right?
So this is the JavaScript API embedding, so similar to,
Yeah, similar to what we have in JasperReports server called Visualize.js, right?
That's actually the same Visualize.js, but it's on top of the microservices. We've kept the same API.
All right, great.
That's a good question, yes. So we can do this with the server. We can also do this with JasperReports IO. The benefit is the same, but yeah, here we're benefiting from the microservices architecture for the reasons we've mentioned earlier. Now I'd like to build this. So how did I build this report? So let's start from installing JasperReports IO. So I downloaded JasperReports IO. I unzipped it, and with as you can see in the documentation, actually I could have mentioned it. When you start it, then you have start.sh, you configure in the start, and then you have it running. You make sure that the repository is configured properly as well in the application context.xml repository under webinf, and then you run your server. So now you're just ready to have your reports put in the repository so that they become available to the REST or the JavaScript API. So what I did, I created my reports. So in my repository, I created a data adapter. This one, the RT data adapter. But that's a concept of server, a data source that I link to a report. In JasperReports, with JasperReports IO, we don't have a data source that I link with a report unit. We need to link everything ourselves. So I created a new project. JasperReports project called JasperReports IO or electricity production. The name of my project. And I simply need to define that this repository is JasperReports IO. So actually, it's already JasperReports IO, probably because I was already working with it.
I'm sorry, Rafael. So here that in the Jaspersoft Studio, I can switch between two perspectives. JasperReports Server when I'm developing for JasperReports Server, and to JasperReports IO if I'm developing with JasperReports IO, right?
Yes.
So I can have two workspaces in the same studio, one using the perspective server and one using the reports IO perspective.
That's right. Yeah, maybe that wasn't clear. With JasperSoft Studio from version 7.8, I think, and until now, we have an engine running JasperReports IO, so we can create JasperReports IO from within JasperSoft Studio, even if I didn't install JasperReports IO separately. And here I have projects that are in JasperReports IO mode or JasperSoft server mode in a way, and that's what I change with the repository type, either the library, IO, or the server.
Yeah, that's
and the way you develop reports are a bit no worries, thanks, Bader. And the way you develop your reports are very similar, but there is slight changes, slight differences. For example, if I go in the properties of the project itself, then I can find in JasperReports IO repository. And then I need to list what is a repository for JasperReports IO. So here I created a folder, JasperReports repository under my project. So this folder now becomes my repository for JasperReports IO. So I have to add this when I work with JasperReports IO, but with the and that's something you probably don't need to do with the server. But then you organize your resources as you'd like. I put my reports in the reports folder. I can put my logos, images, and data sources here. But how do I put my data source from this one that I created to the folder? It's actually possible, and in some cases, we do that also with the server. We can export this to file, and it creates a JRDAX file that I can put into my repository data sources. And I'm not going to do that, I already have one, but I can do, and tells me it's already there. And that way I have my repository. So I can create my repository, JRE repository, work on my reports. Here I have a report, a sub-report, I have my data source. And once I'm done, I test it, it works in the studio. Then I can, let it run, but then I can copy these into my JasperReports IO. Ah, yes, of course. The issue is because I changed the path so that it's using the JasperReports IO installation. And that's a great error to have here, actually, because that points that this is key. Now with JasperReports IO, you have to point the reports to that data adapter file, the export, and you have to point it to the right places. So here in my repository, I just need to go to data sources. So under repository, I have data sources. So I don't need the Dr. Jasper.
Does that mean, Raphael, that in Studio we have a different reference to the data adapter than the server? That's why we can't make it work in the Studio?
Yes, it's two different installations of JRIO, and I kind of named the folders the same way, but I added one level in the JRIO installation. So if I actually quickly go to the installation of JRIO, this one, and the repository, by default, we have the samples. So I created a new folder, Dr. Jaspersoft, and then I have my data source. So when I put my reports here, I need to make sure that the reference is correct. Whereas here I have in Studio, and I need to make sure that.
So in Studio, you don't have the Dr. Jasper folder, and that's what causes the issue. So as a best practice, it's better to have the same structure in your Studio and in your server, So we will be previewing in Studio and run it in the server and avoid any reference issues.
That's correct. That's correct. It's only folders and files. So if I keep the same naming conventions, then I don't need to rename any references. All right, so I created my reports. I added the sub-reports here, and I linked the report and the sub-reports to the data adapter. So this is here. So in my case, I have data source. This is also true with the logo, which shouldn't mention Dr. Jaspersoft here. And the sub-reports is also under reports only. Can save this. The sub-reports will use also the data adapter directly from data source. So you understand. And then once everything is properly, this one, the data adapter, then I can preview this report, or I can deploy it in JasperReports IO. I can try. Oh, and that's my sub-report. But if I test, so at least I fixed my sub-reports. Reference to the data source properly, and I can try full report. Let's see. All right, it works. And I have my report and the 36 pages. Excellent. And so now, as we've seen before, I can migrate my files, JRXML, data adapter to my JRIO installation, and I'm able to then access my reports online or through the visualize.js APIs. That was a long section about pixel perfect reports. We've talked about getting started with JasperReports IO. I'd like to finish from this presentation's perspective, and before, and then we'll go back to the questions, to some specific cases. So we've tested JasperReports IO at scale with the architecture and the 4 modules. We were exporting our reports in PDF formats to S3 buckets. It was relatively big reports with a mix of charts and text. So we didn't take our simplest report. You can see 100 to 1,000 pages. And we've exported that to PDF, and we ran that on like small machines for 2 hours, and we managed to generate 100,000 reports. So it's about $2 of AWS cost running with VKS and JasperReports server and JasperReports IO scale. We use the server for the scheduling, so we could schedule many reports to run at the same time. Another use case, and actually it's similar, it's that you can plug JasperReports IO behind JasperReports server so that you can optimize also from a self-service perspective. So you may have internal users or your customers using ad hoc or self-service, creating contents and reports. So that's intensive on the CPU, on the processing power. But at a certain time of the day, I know an example where we have to generate pay slips. So at the end of the month, we have thousands of pay slips to generate in PDF formats and that by email. This is all done with Jaspersoft server. But if we run these pay slips printing at the same time as someone is trying to use the self-service capabilities, then the server might get slow and impacting the users actually creating content. So by putting JasperReports IO behind, and JasperReports server will outsource the execution of PDF generations or the pay slips in this case, and so preventing any performance impacts. So that's how you can really optimize your Jaspersoft environment. As a conclusion, I wanted to show a simple comparison with features I'll let you pause this video and look into more details. This is also on our website. You can review. We have all the guides, and in this presentation as well, I'm adding some useful links in the resources. I'll let you click on these links as well. From the presentation, we have some information about the customer success services, quick start guides. We've added a lot of resources on Dr. Jaspersoft, this YouTube playlist. The community answers will be answered also if you may post questions and hashtag Dr. Jasper. We'll reply on our community platform, and I put links to the user guides, docs of JasperReports IO. You can, of course, try JasperReports IO the same way as you do with JasperReports Server Enterprise with a 30-day trial on jaspersoft.com/downloads. All right, I think we are good, Bader.
Thank you. Thank you, Raphael, for this rich presentation. It was very eye-opening on JasperReports IO and optimizing analytics. Thank you all, guys, for joining us on this session. Please send us an email to drjaspersoft@connect.jaspersoft.com if you have any questions about this session or the previous sessions. Just don't forget to put in the subject the name of the session that the question will be about, and if any other question not related to Dr. Jaspersoft or not related to a specific session, please don't forget we have the community there. If you're not a commercial license, you can go to the community, and also, of course, if you have a commercial license, you go directly to the support team. That will be all. You will be starting probably today or tomorrow at most. You will be getting the recording in YouTube, and you will be getting also those slides in Dr. Jaspersoft community webpage. Thank you again, everyone, for joining, and have a great day. And thank you, Raphael.
Thank you. Bye, everyone.